Good afternoon. Hope everybody's doing well. I just want to talk to you about the Reflections Notebook just a little bit, okay? You're going to get to a point this week where you are going to be working with the reading strategies, and the ones that I give you are the research-based strategies that you have on that first list where you have those 3 questions, and it starts with prediction, okay? And I want to hammer home to you, not to wait until the last minute, but I also want to hammer home that you need to not spend an excessive amount of time completing this, okay? And what I want you to do, for example, with predicting, what I would do is, sorry, gotta grab a book. I would read a book, one that has a very good opportunity for students to make predictions and also for me to model predictions, okay, for them and show how I'm making them and why I'm making them. And then on the left-hand side, you know, I would have the students do that with the book that they're reading and continue to practice that skill for that day, okay? And I use picture books a lot. I start with Oh, the Places You Go by Dr. Seuss because that's the #1 selling picture book for graduation for high school and college. And I think that when students can see some value in picture books, they realize they're not just baby books, that some of the themes are actually very, very adult, like the Arabulis of Liberty Street. This is one of my favorites. I love this one. So, I've given you a list of possible book titles that you could use, and I'm sure that there are a lot of newer books out there on the market that I haven't even been exposed to because I've been, in my office for the past 2 years. But and if you find some that are good, let me know. I would like to, compile a new list of those and why you're using that picture book. Last semester I read this great book. I love it. It's an Andrew Smith book. It's called Winger. He is a wonderful writer. I really like him. I've established a friendship with him and email to him quite frequently about his writings. But this one is a little bit different than the others, and I think it was written from a lot of his life experiences because he actually did go to a private school and he played rugby, and I think a lot of the characters were developed around friends that he had. So I really enjoyed this book. The story is about Ryan Dean, and he is at a private school. He's not really there because he's trouble. His parents are just kind of disinterested in his life, send him off to school. And what's amazing about this kid is that he is 2 years younger than the other kids. He's extremely bright, and so his sense of humor in this is very clever, very adult. There is a lot of language in the book, adult situations, but it's a very heartwarming story, and it has you laughing, and at the end, sometimes you're even crying. I cried at the end of the book. I absolutely loved it. It's probably my favorite this year of the new books, and I noticed that Barnes & Noble and Amazon both listed it as one of the top picks for the year for new books. But anyways, at the beginning of the story, you find out that Ryan Dean is truly in love with Annie, who is his best friend. And you've got to remember, she's 2 years older than he is, and he's little and cute, and he has very low self-esteem. He's gotten himself in trouble. He is in a dorm for people that are in trouble, and he is rooming with a very big rugby player who happens to be a big pain in the neck. His name is Chas. And so he's in love with Annie, and I make a prediction at the beginning after I see them interact. I would actually pull some text from there to show why I think on page 9. They're walking through the woods, they're running together, and the interchange in the words that they say to each other show that there is a definite connection between the two. So I'm going to predict by the end of the book that they are going to be a couple. And, as I read, as I get to the end, I might change that prediction as I go along with things that happen or add to it. But you really want to give students that skill of being able to predict, because if they're predicting, they're using their brain. And we know that cognitive skills are needed for reading, and that's what it's all about. So you want them to engage. If you can teach them these skills and these strategies with something that they like, then they are much more capable and willing to go on to reading text that maybe is something that's not choice. Okay, and that's why I believe this works. I can see Ryan Dean because Andrew Smith also uses, this is a partially graphic novel, and so you kind of already have a feeling for that, but on the left-hand side, you might want to draw a scene. If you're not an artist, like I am not, you might want to use words, just bullet words all over the page of what you see. You could do stick figures of the characters, whatever you want to do to visualize what you're reading. And then text to world, there is a very heart-wrenching scene in here. Actually, Ryan Dean's best friend is gay, and he is very masculine. He's on the rugby team, but there are some rugby players that really give him a hard time, and there's a lot of that going on in the world. We've actually had several young men that have committed suicide because of situations like this, and I can connect this book to that because of something that happens in the book. And no, it's not suicide. I don't want to be a spoiler here. But how I connect it to myself is as a teacher of young adults. And I absolutely adore Ryan Dean and Annie and some of the other characters in the book. And there are some kids in that you teach that are bullies, kind of like the roommate. But there are a lot of connections I can make to myself with this. And to other texts, it reminds me a lot of books by John Green, sorry. There's a book called Looking for Alaska that's probably one of my favorites. The character in there reminds me a lot of Ryan Dean. And you want your kids to really connect to other books that they're reading. Once they start reading several books within a concept, when they're connecting other texts together, and hopefully as they continue reading, they're reading more complex text and are making connections, then we are definitely doing some higher level thinking there. With questioning, writing down what questions you might have. Sometimes it may be vocabulary. Sometimes it may be things that are confusing you. I'm writing an article right now about my time as a book dealer, and there was a student that I had named Brittany, and I never realized that there was a lot that she did not understand within what are the vampire books? Help me out. I have no one to help me out. Somebody help me out. Twilight. And once she read through the whole series, she asked me to sit next to her so she could ask me about the words she didn't know and understand the book a little bit better with some of the passages that were confusing to her. And that's when I knew I had definitely hooked Brittany. The next one is the question matrix. And I'm holding this up because I want you to understand how this works. How this works is you can use differentiation of instruction. As you can see on the left-hand side, these are your easy questions, and it says over here that it's knowledge-based, so you know that those are your lower-level thinking skills. If you move over to the right, the comprehension, application, these are a little bit more difficult. Down on the bottom, you've got synthesis and analysis, so we're working up Bloom's taxonomy. Those are more difficult. And then this area, oh no!